This is Matara Khan.
Hello!
She's a VTuber. I am a VTuber. She's just getting into 40k. I have been in 40k for a long time, since 2nd edition. We can always do with new blood. She is a tyrannid-looking cockroach, and I'm a vampire. While this cockroach VTuber may not listen to me, her numbers are much bigger than my numbers. At time of recording. I am hoping that you new players and people who want new armies can see what she is doing and listen to me about how good of an idea it is. You can buy what you want. You don't have to listen to the vampire. But the vampire knows what he's talking about. There has been a recent trend of some VTubers, not necessarily Matara, reacting to 40k videos. Such as this one. As a person who makes 40k videos all the time, who is also a VTuber, this is kind of an Uno reverse. The 40k YouTuber reacts to the VTuber talking about 40k. This chain could go on for some time. Her video, my reaction, her reaction to my reaction to her reaction of my reaction to her video. After that it kinda gets silly. This is the video, I have advice.
War is heresy.
Oh, war is heresy. Well, I think that's just the editor doesn't know Warhammer 40,000. Editing is a very difficult job, especially when you're given a massive live stream and told to get the best bits. So having the captions not work, it's fine. It's a minor error. In the 41st millennium, it isn't that war is heresy. Refusing to go to war is heresy. But the Horus heresy is the big imperial civil war. Well, one of them. Well, one of 3 big ones at least. A big one against Horus Lupercal. Mr. Heresy to his enemies. And that is Warhammer 30k.
Okay, let's take a look at the Blood Angel. Ooh, wow!
That Sanguinius model which is sold out, that's in Canadian dollars, not American dollars. We're looking at about 155 American dollars or 100 British pounds. It's a lot for that model.
This looks really hard to paint.
Yeah, it's got a lot of bits on it. It's gonna be hard to paint.
So I want that.
No, you don't need that.
Definitely.
Why do you want the most expensive model? Space Marines. Just regular Space Marines are totally fine. If you desperately want a centerpiece model, there are slightly cheaper dreadnoughts. There are other special characters you can get to lead your army. You don't need the $190 Primarch. Some units in the Horus Heresy range can actually be cheaper than regular 40k. Getting 10 30k jump pack Assault Marines is about the same price as 5 Assault Marines with jump packs from 40k. Same scale, basically the same weapons, but generally, the Forge World models are expensive even compared to other 40k models. They're not your standard 40k models. They have been renamed to 15 plus expert kits because they can be a pain to build. They're often in resin rather than plastic, which is a little harder to work with as it's not as forgiving.
The tanks look a little silly, let's be honest.
The tanks do look a little janky and weird. That is intentional. It's meant to create a sort of timeline of vehicles. These tanks from the Horus Heresy are meant to look like the tanks that Games Workshop sold in the 80s and 90s. The new Mark VI Horus Heresy Marines are remakes of the very first Rogue Trader No. 1 box of Space Marines with the beaky helmets. It lets you have nostalgia even if you didn't experience those times. I wasn't around for 1st edition, but I really like the beakies. Oh, someone in the chat just mentioned, for that price it better be pre-painted. Haha, no. For that Games Workshop price you get a sprue. Then you have to use your anime hands to build it, and then use your anime hands to paint it. The benefit being, you can paint it any way you want. If it was a World War II Battle of Stalingrad T-34 tank, having it pre-painted would be nice, because there was only a couple of paint schemes used historically for the tank. But Horus Heresy has 18 legions with very different colour schemes. You can make your own colour scheme for a chapter in 40k, or do a variation of one of the legions.
I am a poser, by the way, everybody. Since I'm not playing tabletop, right? I don't care to have the good units, I just want the cool units.
That is perfectly valid. You don't have to play the tabletop version. A lot of people who are into Warhammer 40,000 just care about the lore or the computer games. They may get the models, but you can just get the models to enjoy painting them. So your army could be all of the really big monsters from loads of different factions. It's not a legal tabletop army, but it's cool models.
The faction that interests me the most is the Orc.
Do I say anything? I don't want to make this about the editor. Editing is really hard. They've done a good job. It's just that Matara's on about the 40k orcs. And here's a picture. Oh, I'm gonna get the nerd glasses. Oh boy, imagine making a mistake like that. Talking about Warhammer 40,000 orcs and putting up a picture of Warhammer Fantasy orcs. It's spelt totally different. Orcs with a C is Tolkien. Orcs with a K is Warhammer 40,000. And I can't keep that accent up. And the picture didn't even pick a Warhammer Fantasy one because Warhammer Fantasy Battles had its own thing, and that is a cover art for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, but the image that's used was when Age of Sigmar first came around, Age of Sigmar Edition 0, the other fantasy setting for Warhammer, and all of the existing units for Warhammer Fantasy were moved over into Age of Sigmar. That is the Legends cover that's being used here, not one for Warhammer 40,000. It shouldn't bother me, but it does. Otherwise, great job on the editing. Okay, nerdy time over. But different kind of nerdy time. Cliché nerdy time over.
And I don't like the way the orcs minis look.
Those are definitely 40k
fine.
orcs.
They're just
yes.
little orcs, you know? You know what I might do? I might do it
battle
one at a
scissors on screen.
time.
Everyone
Maybe like I'll get
battle
one a
scissors on
month.
screen. One a month.
Ooh, not my flying women.
Celestine. It looks good. It's a really fun model. She can shoot flames from her sword. She can resurrect her models. She is like Jesus, but a battle sister lady. We're getting one unit every single month. That's not bad. That's a pretty good way to do it, because then you'll probably build and paint the actual models you've got. Otherwise, if you buy everything all at once, you have what is called a pile of shame. Just a pile of sprues that you haven't touched yet. You're like, oh, I really want to do those models at some point, and then something new and interesting comes out and you buy that instead, and the pile just gets bigger. There is also previously, and should be in the future, magazine tie-ins with the Imperium magazine and the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine, which is meant to be upcoming probably this year. There, every week you get a different unit. Now, you don't have to subscribe to it, you could just buy the ones you want. That's a good way of doing it. Then you can have an army or lots of different units that you think are cool.
Oh, this is like a moving Iron Maiden almost.
And that is a mortifier, a sister who doesn't follow the rules and breaks sufficient important rules like not turning up on time for prayer meetings, depends on the order as to how serious things are. They will be sent to the Repentia. And then in the Repentia, that's where you're meant to fight and die, or potentially, rarely, be redeemed and returned as a battle sister. If you run away while you're a Repentia, then to make sure you can't run away anymore, you get strapped into the Mortifier. It's a sensory deprivation chamber inside the Iron Maiden. It's very unpleasant. And then you die. Very grimdark.
Ooh, Junith Eruita. Like, this looks so cool. I love this. Okay, they
we
really
can get
do
around
look
Battle
cool, the
Sisters.
I'm not gonna lie.
That is also the army that Bricky has, because he has taste. And I have many Battle Sister videos to help out. Just how they work on the tabletop. Also some how to start collecting Battle Sisters if you want an army that way that looks like the regular core of the army.
This plane actually looks so cool.
Oh, now we've moved on to the Adeptus Mechanicus. I don't think the planes are good. It's a lot of flat areas that are kind of boring to paint. It's big. If you've got an airbrush, it can be alright. But I find them boring, and they're not really designed to be used in 40k. I mean, there are definitely rules for them, but Games Workshop keeps upping the points value of them to stop people from taking them because their rules are so janky. We had problems in 8th edition where people would move the flyer towards the enemy, and because it has a base, the enemy couldn't move over that base, even though the flyer is meant to be several miles up in the sky.
I'm not really into planes. No offense to planes, but they're just planes.
That's the right attitude. They're just planes. Planes are not what you want from 40k. You don't get that amazing planes. I mean, the Dakar Jet looks pretty good if you want to do a Stop the Squidgen kind of thing.
The Sky Stalkers look so goofy. Look at their little feet. I love them.
The Taraxi. They're very expensive, the Adeptus Mechanicus, especially if you want a full army of them. If you're just buying a one-off unit, yeah, they're cool. If you want an army of them, they're a big horde at the moment. They should be these amazing cyborgs, part human, part robotic, Definitely with a human mind, because that is the holy part. But for a horde of models to paint, there's a lot of detail on them, so you end up taking a lot of time to paint them, or you just stop caring about the detail being painted, which is kind of sad when you've bought the models that look really nice.
Am I confident in painting? So Cubby, I think my first paint job, I will either hire somebody to paint it for me or have a collab with a streamer who will paint it for me. And I'll just breathe down their neck.
It's not going to be me. But having someone else paint it for you, that's okay. It's worth learning how to paint. I mean, you can just get Space Marines. They do give you free models if you go into Games Workshop and say, hey, I want to know how to paint. They will give you a Space Marine and you can paint the Space Marine. If you don't like Space Marines, they also have an Age of Sigmar Stormcast Eternal. Very simple to paint. A lot of what I do is just paint by numbers. This should be this color, and then I've learned how to put enough water on it to thin down the paints. One of the important things is having the right brushes. You don't need expensive brushes, just brushes that are going to work. If you have a really thick brush and you're trying to paint detail, the big brush is going to be mismatched to the thing you want to do, so having a range of brushes is good. It can be a lot of fun to paint things, and then you get them in your own unique way, the way you want them. But there's also people who make a business out of painting Warhammer models.
I think maybe I'll eventually learn how to paint. I haven't decided yet.
But I would start small if you're going to be painting the models yourself. Don't start on a massive model.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I see a woman, I click. I love her. I don't even care if she's evil. If evil, why animal?
Ah yes, the character that looks a lot like Matara's friend, Multiverse Monarch. Yvraine is definitely... well, there are no good guys in 40k, that's the thing we always say. Everyone is a different shade of evil or motivated by a different thing to do evil things. Yvraine has done a lot of Eldar things. She's been a witch in the Dark Eldar, so she's in an arena and she fights people and kills them to entertain the crowd and support their souls so that Slaanesh doesn't come for them. And she's joined the Eldar Craft Worlds and been in Aspect Warriors and fought and killed for them. And then she founded the Ynnari, which is a whole thing of resurrection and rebirth through murder. And her weird cat thing, it has the soul of another Eldar dude in it. It's kind of confusing, but that is a cat boy.
They almost look a little like Japanese inspired. They really do look like Gundams here and there. Yeah, these are very Evangelion with the skinny legs, with the everything.
Yeah, the Eldari are very Japanese inspired. They have a lot of back banners, that's something Japanese soldiers used to have. Their walkers do indeed look like mechs. There's also the Tau, they're a very different kind of mech. They look a bit more Code Geass kind of mech. And much like the Evangelion mechs, not to spoil it, but they're made out of living material. The Wraith Guard are made out of Wraith Bone, which is a kind of living... not living metal, that's a Necron thing. It's a kind of living steel. You shape it by singing to it, but in certain weird Eldar magic ways.
I want like a regular Harlequin. Oh yes, okay, I'm getting them. They look just the right amount of goofy. I need them. They're hard to paint. Hey, won't be me.
The Harlequins. You don't have to paint them diamond patterns. I mean, if you're going to commission someone and you pay them enough, they will do diamond patterns for you. But you could just do them two-toned. So here it is in black and grey. That works. That looks cool. That's one of the official paint schemes. And I think they'd be really cool for Kill Team. That's a smaller skirmish level game, which is like one squad against another squad. And then, even if you're just buying the models you want, you do have models you can play in some Warhammer 40,000 games. Just not the regular tabletop 40k. I mean, you can just stick everything on the table and be like, here's my army. It's got a Carnifex, it's got a Harlequin troop, it's got a Taraxi squad, and 25 Orc boys, and a Battle Sister squad led by Junith Arutia. There we go, that's an army. You can do that for fun. You just can't do it at tournaments, and most players will be like, warn me before you do that, because it's a bit weird. And you'd have to adapt the rules to work better with them, but it could work. It could work.
Can I ask, how come you get the models from Amazon for cheaper? Vendors get a wholesale discount, reseller.
If you also want to get the models cheaper, but you don't want to go through Games Workshop itself, I have several affiliate links in my description. So there's Gap Games for Australia and New Zealand, that's 21% off compared to buying through Games Workshop. In the UK, there's Firestorm Games for 12% off compared to going through Games Workshop. And if you're in Canada, Fenris Workshop for 10% off. They also do second-hand models, which you can get through them in the United States. So as Matara is in Canada, she may want to check out Fenris Workshop, linked in the description, with my affiliate link.
Thank you for letting me know. Leagues of Votan. What is this? What is Leagues of Votan? They look like little dwarves.
They are little dwarves. So yeah, they were called the Squats, and they were around in the early editions of 40k as space dwarves, part of the Imperial Guard, because they were abhumans. So the Imperial Guard also has Ratlings, which are hobbits, and Ogrins, which are ogres. Then the Squats, the space dwarves, got removed from the range, and this is why we have the term squatting for, yeah, it sounds weird, but whenever something is removed from the game entirely. So entire factions can get squatted, units individually can get squatted, and they stop being sold and are no longer playable. At least not under the rules and systems that they used to be. Then they came back recently as the Leagues of Votan in 9th edition. And everyone hated it because of how badly the rules were written for them, which made them so very powerful. It's a retcon that they came back. Leviathan did not eat them. They exist at the center of the galaxy where there's a lot of high gravity worlds, and so that's why they're small.
Chaos demons. Oh my goodness, the Nurglings look so cute. Okay, they didn't look this cute when I saw them before. They actually look so cute.
Yeah, the Nurglings are
I need
cute.
them.
Everyone loves the Nurglings with their happy smiley faces. You have Sassy Nurgling that's carrying a helmet. There are a lot of different Nurglings. They get into all kinds of shenanigans. And they're a very fun side of Warhammer 40,000. A lot of the range has these really small models, like there's a random crab, there's a fish, there's a goose. Games Workshop has learned that people really like these models. So the Nurglings, definitely a fan favorite.
I love that the demons always look like they're having the best time. He's just living his best life. He's Nurgling.
See, there's a very happy Nurgling. The Nurglings are having a lot of fun. It's a Nurgle thing, not just a generic demon thing. I mean, Slanesh, yeah, a lot of their demons look like they're having a lot of fun. Too much fun. But the Nurglings, they're happy little chappies just living their happy little demon lives.
I want to see the Drukhari. The Ravager, I love it. Look at
The
it.
Ravager, I don't recommend the Drukhari vehicles, even though as a faction, they very much operate around their vehicles. The vehicles are difficult because if you glue the stand on, that's taking up a lot more space in the box. And unfortunately, unlike the much older models where it's a pin in a hole and you can just slot it in and it works so you can have the two bits separate, the stand and the model, these are on a sphere at the top of the stick. So you can pose them, in theory, at weird angles. You don't do that because then they'll fall off and break, or it won't stand upright. So one idea is to cut off the ball at the top of the stand, replace it with a magnet, put another magnet on the underside of the Ravager, then you can mount it on top of the stand as a magnetized model. Just then don't fly two of them too close together, because then if the magnets are strong enough, kaploom.
By the boat. Also, Reavers. They look so futuristic and cool.
The Reavers, they also have the weird sphere flying stands. They do look futuristic, they do look really cool. The previous ones, like the really old 1990s ones, which was actually just the ones before these, you could build the front in a lot of different ways and rotate it round so they could always look unique. These also look really cool. You just don't get as many parts as previously. You can do some nice kit bashes if you add in other Drukhari parts, like a long spear, which you get when you buy the Raider, because there's a dude there with a spear. I've got a Reaver with a long spear. Looks really cool. I think so anyway.
Ooh, she looks really cool.
She has the really cool Inquisitor hat. She is a witch hunter. I'm not a big fan of the combat stilettos, and the model is smaller than you'd expect because it's a normal human in not quite power armor. I think it's better to kit bash one, because that torso is a Sister of Battle torso. That gun, Sister of Battle gun. It's just that then you'd miss out on the really cool hat. But I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get a cloak from somewhere, and then you can make your own Inquisitor Greyfax out of a Battle Sister model.
First of all, there she is. There's my woman. I need her in Greyfax like instantly.
The Calidus Assassin is a quite cool model. I don't like the really long hair that trails behind her, and I don't think we need a massive tactical rock. This is a stealthy assassin. Can she not be behind the rock? That would look nice. Can she not be polymorphing into someone else or from someone else? That'd be cool. You could just paint one of the arms to be a different color, then have like a transition. I've seen a lot of people do that with Alpha Legion paint schemes. There's a lot that Games Workshop could have done better with this model, and it's very expensive for a single plastic model.
So I'll order both assassins. It was like $40 and $50. And the Drukhari like ships. I'm not gonna get the full set, but just the ship. It looks amazing.
Thank you, Matara. We've gone over a lot of different advice for beginners when you're getting into Warhammer 40,000 as Matara is. There is no wrong way to enjoy Warhammer. You want to do just the video games? You can. You want to just look up the lore stuff? You can. You want to just play with some models, regardless of what kind of models? That is absolutely an option. You just won't find as many people who want to play with you because they're expecting you to have a full army of one particular kind. And a lot of those characters you saw, very expensive for a single model. So I recommend kit bashing. That's something I've done and shown off in detail for the Gene Stealer cult, one of the factions that Matara didn't mention there. Or we can check out how to get started with the Sisters of Battle. My darlings and viewers, have a great day learning 40k.